The focus of this video is rates and solving story problems using proportional reasoning. A rate is a ratio that compares two quantities with different units. So it's just a comparison between two quantities. In this example, we're answering the question, how far can this Jeep travel on 1 gallon of gas? We are comparing two quantities. We're comparing 17 and 1, and they have different units, miles and gallons. So our rate here is gas mileage. This Jeep gets 17 miles per gallon in this city. And then you can also write this as a fraction, 17 miles per 1 gallon. Here's another example of a rate. A speed is a rate. We're answering the question, how fast is this boat? Well, how fast? What's its rate? It's moving at 8 miles per hour. And then in fractional form, 8 miles per 1 hour. Next example. In this example, our rate is an hourly wage. How much do you make per hour working at Chick-fil-A? $10 per hour, or $10 per 1 hour. We're comparing two quantities, and they have different units, dollars and hours. Our next example is a unit cost. This is also a rate. How much does one avocado cost? $2 per avocado. You could even create a ratio or a rate out of the red stripes to white stripes on the American flag. There are 7 red stripes to 6 white stripes on the American flag. Now we're going to solve some story problems using proportions. Example 1. It costs $6 for 2 hot dogs. How much would it cost you to buy 8 hot dogs? So what we're going to use is the rate that we are given. So we are given the rate $6, that quantity being compared to 2 hot dogs. And using this rate, we're going to figure out how much it costs to buy 8 hot dogs. You'll notice that I needed to put hot dogs across from hot dogs, and then it's going to be cost across from cost. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use proportional reasoning to solve this problem. So remember, a proportion is when you have two equivalent fractions. The ratio is going to stay the same. If $6 gets you 2 hot dogs, then we should be able to figure out how much money gets us 8 hot dogs because the ratio will remain the same. So we're creating an equivalent fraction. We can do this by either scaling up or scaling down. You'll notice if we're going from 2 to 8, that is an increase. So we're multiplying, we're scaling up. We're multiplying 2 by 4 to get to 8. We also have to multiply 6 by the same number that we multiplied the denominator by to create an equivalent ratio or an equivalent fraction. 6 times 4 gives us 24. So by creating an equivalent fraction, we were able to come up with the cost of 8 hot dogs. So 8 hot dogs will cost you $24. Next example. You use 3 gallons of gas traveling 36 miles on your four-wheeler. So this is miles per gallon. This is gas mileage. We talked about this. So we have 36 miles we were able to travel. And we're able to do that using 3 gallons of gas. And then the question asks, how much gas would it take to travel 12 miles? So in this example, we're trying to solve for the number of gallons of gas. So think about it. If we're using our proportional reasoning, remember proportion is when you have two equivalent fractions, we need to create an equivalent fraction over here. So we need to think about if we're scaling down or we're scaling up. From 36 miles to 12 miles, we're scaling down, which means we're dividing. To get from 36 to 12, we need to divide by 3. To create an equivalent fraction, we need to also divide the denominator by 3. 3 divided by 3 is equal to 1. So it will take 1 gallon to travel 12 miles. Example 3. If a recipe calls for half a cup of flour to 3 teaspoons of sugar, how many cups of flour are needed if you are using 9 teaspoons of sugar? All right, so let's create our rate. So our rate was a half a cup of flour is needed for 3 teaspoons of sugar. And then we are told that we have 9 teaspoons of sugar now, and we're being asked to figure out how many cups of flour we need. So we're solving for x. Now when you think about when we're creating our equivalent fraction, are we scaling up or scaling down? From 3 to 9, that is an increase. So we are scaling up, which means we're multiplying. And we're actually multiplying by 3 to get to 9. So we need to multiply 1/2 by 3. If we're going to multiply a fraction by 3, we should write 3 as a fraction. And then we multiply across. 1 times 3 gives us 3, and 2 times 1 gives us 2. So we need 3/2, or you could say 1.5. 3/2 is equal to 1.5 cups of flour. We need 1.5 cups of flour if we have 9 teaspoons of sugar. And then for our last problem, example 4. If the ratio of subscribers to those who unsubscribed is 210 to 77, how many subscribers should you expect on a day where 11 have unsubscribed? So let's start by recording our rate. So our original rate is 210, and they said subscribers first, so that goes with the 210. So I'm going to put an S for subscribers, to 77, which is those who unsubscribed. And then we're going to write a proportion. Remember, proportion is when you have 2 equal fractions. 11 have unsubscribed. Those who've unsubscribed have to go across from the 77 who have unsubscribed. And then we need to think about whether we're scaling up or down. From 77 to 11, that was a decrease. So we're scaling down. We're dividing by 7. So we also need to divide the numerator by 7. 21 divided by 7 is 3. So 210 divided by 7 is 30. So on a day when 11 have unsubscribed, you would expect there to be 30 that subscribed.